Today's episode of Wine Time Fridays is brought to you in part by our friends at Pilgrim's Market, Eternal Wine, and CDA Gourmet.
It's been a long week, right? Are you ready to wind down? Why not? It's time for the Wine Time Fridays podcast with Shelley and Phil. Neither are sommeliers, but both have a deep passion for life, each other, and of course, delicious wine. And now, here to talk about this week over a glass of wine is Shelley and Phil. It's wine time!
Hello and welcome to another episode of Wine Time Fridays with Shelley and Phil on the second week of the first Washington Wine Month.
Yes.
I know! Episode 256. Shelley and guest Cinda, happy Friday. It's wine time.
It is wine time.
You gonna do it?
I love it. It's wine time every day.
It is wine time every day. But look, I got in the back of my hat the hashtag It's Wine Time because we're constantly branding here at Wine Time Fridays. Some good, some not so good, but this is good. We have another guest. I think we're going to have a guest all through this month, which is fantastic. We love guests, don't we, Shelley?
We do.
And we like really good guests, which is this is a very exciting one. On the way over, I said to Shelley, I'm actually really excited about this one. I just know it's going to fly by. So speaking of flying by, let's get started. But Cinda Allen with Idaho Wine Merchant, singular, not plural. Am I right?
Very nice. Correct. Yes.
Welcome to Wine Time Fridays.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I love talking about wine, so if I go too long-winded at times, you can just let me know.
Ooh, I have competition.
Yeah.
It was not last week, but the week before, we had Kevin Olsenberg, also a distributor. We've not had a lot of distributors on. We've had Jesse Balsamo with Trevino, but that's maybe it. Distributors don't always like to come on because they want to highlight all of their wines in their portfolio, and we completely get that. Cinda's brought 5 wines.
That's a lot.
That's not all Idaho Wine Merchant sells or distributes, okay? So, but these are 5 wines that are Washington. Cinda, you are not just a Washington wine drinker though, right?
I am not. I would have brought everything had she let me. But I picked wines to me that I have been working with for a very long time and have a special place in my heart. Story. They all do. They're all like my children. Just like the wines for the winemakers are all like their children.
Exactly.
But narrowing it down, like I said, the list could have been very long.
Well, this is still a great list. It's really a cool list.
Are you going to put all the wines in the show notes?
No. The wines we feature are going in the show notes. Who invited Shelley today? I am so rude. Shall we get started with the non-vintage Treveri Cellars Blanc de Blanc Brut? The prices that I'm going to be talking about today are the prices that the winery sells these wines for, which means they could be a little higher, a little lower in retail spaces. And here we go, the sigh of release.
I don't sigh. I make noise.
Oh, hashtag she makes noise. There we go. So, talk a little bit about the Treveri Cellars because we're big fans of,
What?
What's the winery like? We like the Sparkling House. Tyrtis, yeah. We're big fans of Tyrtis. This is a sparkling, that's all they do.
Yes. So Treveri is a really cool story, and there's a lot of layers. And the more and longer, I've been in this business, the more the layers just unfold, the longer, and the more people you taste with and talk with. They founded their winery in 2010 in Yakima. Well, there are wineries in Wapato. Wapato.
Yeah, Wapato Point.
I tried to figure out how to say that, and I feel like I hopefully did okay. But,
no, Wapato, yeah.
But their sourcing vineyard is all over Yakima State, Washington State, but they have estate fruit as well. So the founder, the father, He had a very extensive German Riesling background and fell in love with sparkling wine. So when he came over to Washington State, he started working with a little winery called Langu.
Okay.
And oddly enough, there's a couple of people that have worked at that winery in the wine business.
Spin-offs, so to speak.
They made wine for them.
Oh, but
And-
it's now making wine
Yes, and now
other
making their
places.
own
Yeah.
wine. I was with a friend of mine, and we were talking about, I have this bottle of Riesling in my cellar. And I'm like, what? From 1973.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, you have got to bring me a bottle of this. She's like, I've got like 6 of them. We used to just go over there to this winery that was there. And
So Washington Riesling.
Yeah.
In 73, it was back when they were making sweet Rieslings like Johannesburg and things like that, right?
Absolutely. So she brings a bottle of Langu Riesling. So, oddly, this is where Treveri kind of came and got his foundation in the Washington wine business to start. And then also Mike Janik worked at that winery. So, and I work with both of them.
Isn't that fun? That's just so cool.
Like I said, the language and the magic and the history of wine and being in it as long as I have, there's always another story to another story to another story. And it's beautiful.
It is the best part of the wine industry. Can I say in our opinion? Because, well,
If
you're
you
always
want.
talking about the stories.
Oh yeah, stories are the most.
We love the stories. We should toast this up instead of staring at it. To health, wealth, and abundance, gratitude, romance,
and magic.
Peace on earth. Magic is always good too.
Ozempic? No.
How long have you been in the industry?
So, in 1992, I went to a restaurant on a busy Friday night, like around 5:30, called Jimmy D's Cafe. And Jim Duncan was the owner at that time. And I asked for a job in the middle of the busiest night of the week. And
Very strategic. They said no.
yeah,
They said yes.
I got an application and
Filled it out, and they put you to work.
well, oddly enough, because it was a busy night, probably at the end of that time, I didn't get a call back. So one thing I've learned about the wine industry and the restaurant business is we don't stop at anything to get what we, kind of desire.
Proactive is always a good thing.
So I kept calling, and then I, would go in after I got out of school because I didn't graduate high school for a couple more years, and I needed a job. And finally, I got the call, and he said, "Can you come in for an interview right now?" And I said, "I'm 20 minutes away. I'll be there." So that's how I started in that side of the restaurant business, which led me eventually into the distribution business.
I mean, it's really...
Is it that Jimmy D's down there?
Jimmy D's Cafe, yep,
Ah.
and the wine cellar, the original. So back in 1992, 94.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Did you work with... who am I thinking of?
I don't know.
Actually, take that out. Because it was Cinda that we knew from
The cellar?
the cellar. The wine cellar. It's all coming together now. It doesn't take me long.
I was the day girl there for a very, very long time.
And they had a nice wine list, and downstairs was a fantastic place. I miss that place.
Yeah, me too.
Yep, I know that that has been a really big stepping stone for a lot of people in this market, and kind of expanding on that and the program and the growth and people maybe opening up their own business based on those
Thinking
things.
of buying all of
It's been beautiful.
Naomi was there, right?
Yes.
Naomi was there. And I want to say up at Vinyl...
Stylist.
Yeah.
Krista.
Krista was there.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. So there have been a lot of people there, and but the space is so cool too, and no pretentiousness. That's what I remember. That was at the early start of my second wine journey.
It was a great space to share the love of wine and dive into having a beautiful evening surrounded by food and wine and music.
It's the best. It's the best. Talk about the sparkler. Is it Chard?
So this is a Blanc de Blanc from Treveri. And back to the original conversation, they do sparkling wine only. So that is a very secure thing that they do.
Absolutely.
Touring the winery, they have a beautiful facility for all of the rack and riddling and the dosage. And it's an incredible space and beautiful, from Riesling to Syrah sparkling Brut to Gewürztraminer.
Oh, wow.
But this is 100% Chardonnay, and this is their wine that was featured in the White House.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So the presidential White
That
House
White House, the
inauguration.
real White House.
The real White House.
There is a White House in Post
So,
Falls, but
yeah.
this is a little bigger one. This is the one in D.C.
Yes. So this is basically, I think, what represents them very well, and then all the others, obviously, as the whole. But they're kind of founding wine.
Can I just repeat this? $16
Yeah, that's
at the
a really good
winery.
price point.
There are lots of places in town that are stocking this.
Yes.
And
This
Pilgrim's
is
is not just one of them. There are other places, but
Yep, this is a very, very sought after, I would say, by all buyers and consumers because of what is in the bottle and what you get from the bottle from the cost.
QPR all the way on this. This is fantastic. We are enjoying this sparkler in Andrea Robinson's The One White wine glass, which we have to give her a shout out whenever we can. And as we discussed before we hit record, these glasses have the shape of, a Pinot Noir. This is like a smaller Pinot Noir glass. The one red is same shape, just a little bigger. And Andrea, the master sommelier, made the one red, the one white to pretty much encompass everything out there.
All the glasses.
All the glasses.
So you don't need 75 glasses.
You know,
for your
Riedel
wine.
does a great job,
They do.
but do you really need 22 separate glasses in your cupboards for all your friends that come over, and then you need to get 10 of each, and
And then somebody breaks them. And
I
Yeah.
am notorious for breaking wine glasses. Ask any of my friends, and they'll tell you the stories. I'm not going to tell you because it doesn't really happen, but they say I break them all the time.
we had Andrea on as a guest, and she said that one of these got knocked off of their counter on a ceramic tile floor, and it just bounced. So I will say
does break.
it does. Taking it out of the dishwasher the wrong way, it breaks. But they're very sturdy and they're great, and we love them. And I had to mention that just because we love sparklers, and I think a sparkler can be twirled and swirled as well.
And next time we'll try the flutes.
Maybe we will. Maybe we will. Hey, you know what we should do? We should take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to stick with white, but we've got some wine words of the week and all that fun stuff when we come back. Thanks. Welcome back to Wine Time Fridays, episode 256 with Cinda Allen of Idaho Wine Merchant. This is March 14th, the second week of the first Washington Wine Month. I will say that over and over because we get two. We get March and we get August. And
Why are there two again?
they call, technically they're different names. One is Drink Washington State.
Oh, yeah.
Why confuse things? Washington Wine Month. I think they may have different sponsors for all of
probably.
that. So, do you have any insight to that?
I think it's wine month every month and from all over, and no, I don't have any insights. Sorry.
Well, we're about to open a 2023 Elk Cove Vineyards Pinot Gris. I wanted to, while Cinda's opening that, I wanted to say thank you to the Business Zone for hosting us for the second week in a row. And I am going to take this little sign down because we are going to need to put the next bottle up. Look, she is a perfect professional. Look at that. Thank you.
You're
This is a 2023 Elk Cove Vineyards, Pinot Gris. Well, Shelley, we're going to have to work on this, aren't we? Because you're going to get out of the picture here pretty soon. We'll see. We'll see what we do.
No worries.
It is a worry. Right now you got the microphone coming out of your chin. Let's see.
Oh, good. Cover me right up.
Now we need to figure this out somehow. There we go. All right. Hashtag cheersing.
Cheersing.
Can you tell we're social media gurus?
We're not a guru. Remember, we don't say that.
Or experts? 100%?
We don't even say that.
So I'd love to talk about this wine a little
Yeah,
bit.
please.
This family and this Oregon winery, I have worked with my entire selling career. When I first started with Idaho Wine Merchant, Pat and Adam were kind of still utilizing and working through everything. And then Adam had come work the market with me a couple times. And I've been to the winery more than a couple times. When they came and settled, they moved up here and decided they wanted to buy this land in this little shack. And
A little shock.
yeah, actually it was, and they kind of did it all organically, sustainably. And Pat and Joe came over here and planted their first vine, and we're kind of in this fishbowl area and decided, this is kind of where we want to stay. And I hope the date's right. I'm positive it is, because one of those things I tried to remember. In 1974, there was a herd of over 500, 200, a lot of Roosevelt elk that came and bedded down on that land.
Wow.
And that's when they decided to call it Elk Cove. And stay there. So this is a state fruit,
Nice.
the Pinot Gris. And yes, it is 100%, but they do add a little bit of a Gewürztraminer kind of note to it, which brings out the floral characteristics and gives it a little bit more body. It is a very beautiful wine that represents Elk Cove, as well as their standard Willamette Valley Pinot Noir, which is where their roots started. Joe, Adam's dad, is a huge fan of Riesling, and so they still make a late harvest Riesling to this day in honor of him, which both of them, the parents, you can find them at the winery, usually in the garden or in the tasting room, sharing stories, visiting, but it is a lovely winery and family, and Adam is a busy man. He's got a lot of vineyards that they've acquired over the years, and makes beautiful single vineyard Pinot Noirs as well.
We have not gotten over to Oregon to visit any
Not
wineries.
really. We need to do that. I have got some notes on Elk Cove, like they are salmon safe certified.
Yes.
They only, I love this. Well, so they only use irrigation during the first 3 years of vine growth. Then it's what they would call dry irrigation. Is that what they call that? It's basically what's coming down from Mother
dry
Nature. Dry farming, yeah.
Which sometimes can be scary.
It can be, yeah.
For sure, but yes.
That's when we're talking about those roots going down deep to find
Yes.
that water,
Yes.
which actually helps the vines.
Yes.
It seems so wrong to me.
Counterintuitive.
Yeah, counterintuitive. Let's see. Go ahead.
Another fun fact about Elk Cove is they're one of the higher elevation wineries in Oregon. So I think they average at about 800 feet elevation, which that's pretty high. It's one of the highest. So
They don't use any pesticides. They have goats and longhorn cattle to control the noxious weeds. And you'll never hear noxious weeds as wine words of the week. But it does seem like...
I'll never hear that word without thinking of knapweed.
Yeah, right. That's exactly right. Let's talk about the Rivaura wine words of the week, cover crops. Because it's kind of a little segue there. Cover crops. Yeah. Cover crops are plants grown between vineyard rows to enhance soil health, reduce erosion, and promote biodiversity. Now, these crops play a crucial role in sustainable vineyard management, which, from all indications, Elk Cove easy for me to say. Elk Cove Vineyards does a good job of, as they don't use any synthetic fertilizer or anything like that. Use these crops to help with that. That's not the noxious weeds that the other animals are taking care of, but these are the by design. They help.
It's like putting marigolds in your tomatoes.
In a sense, but it also keeps the moisture in, I would think, as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of those things.
Yeah. So it's a good thing. Sustainability, all of that. Just let's take care of our earth while we're making great juice.
And you know that most winery or vineyards, I should say, and wineries, they plant roses at the front of their rows so they can determine how well the soil is doing.
I did not know that.
Yes.
So
Where did we see it all had white cabbage roses around it? Forget where that was, but it was really pretty.
Well, it's beautiful
that's the
aesthetically,
other
but it
thing.
also serves a purpose for the vineyard managers and everybody to kind of see how things are progressing
well,
in the
Good
land.
idea.
you know, as we're gearing up for spring here in North Idaho, I'm keeping an eye on our roses in our rose garden.
Is it fake spring right now? Or?
It is. I don't know. It's been a little long fake spring, so we'll keep knocking on wood that it continues. But one of our rose bushes is, I don't know. It'll be fine, but it doesn't look fine right now.
Oh, no, not again.
Yeah, maybe the chickens are eating them. I don't know.
I've discovered the way to keep a rose alive every year. Is buy a new one each spring and just plant it. Unfortunately, I'm not very good at keeping that happy in where I have it. So that's my secret.
Well, we had to virtually replace all of our rose garden
Because of
last
the deep
year
freeze last
because of the deep freeze. And
The one that we didn't replace.
No, I kept one, and it is flourishing, which made me think the other ones would have been flourishing too had I not pulled them out and replaced them. So that is Gardening 101 here at Wine Time Fridays. And thank you for joining us. We are going to go to I believe we're getting into
Merlot.
reds now. Yeah. Oh, yes. The Brook and Bull Reserve Malbec. Oh, no, we're going to do Merlot instead of Malbec.
Yeah.
That's right. We changed that. Let's do the Merlot from Saviah. I'm way off. We're doing the Walla of Vintners Merlot.
Yes.
My notes are so far off right now. I'm just botching everything, which is good. You want to let the guest and the co-host shine while you trip over everything.
I love it. I love it. There is no wrong answer, right?
Wrong answer, right. Interesting.
Should have the dump
So
closer.
my personal goal before I retire in the wine business, which won't be for a very long time, by the way, as long as they all keep me around, is to personally bring back Merlot and its beautiful capturing in every bottle into the market. And then maybe hopefully expand into other markets too.
Will you also be pushing out Pinot Noir?
No, Pinot Noir is beautiful. My goal is to not push anything out, but my goal is to rejuvenate Merlot because it is one of the most beautiful varietals that I have been able to experience. Aged Merlot, Bordeaux Merlot, Washington Merlot. And so there's a beautiful story with Walla Walla Vintners. Gordy Miles, who founded the winery in 1995, became the 8th bonded winery in Walla Walla. Lots of history there. They started making wine out of their garage, and in 2006-ish, 7-ish, sorry my timeline, maybe 9, I don't know, somewhere around those years.
Works for us.
We got wind that there was this beautiful wine coming out of Walla Walla, and we had to have some to sell for our restaurants, so they could sell and pass on the beautiful things to the consumers. So, as a distributorship, we were reluctantly given 10 cases of Cabernet, and that is it. From Walla Walla Vintners.
So when you say reluctantly given, where was the reluctance coming from?
They wanted to give us 5.
Oh, you asked for 10.
And we asked for 10. We actually asked for more, but...
well, you got double what they wanted to give you. That's not a bad deal.
I know. So we
Not too
started off selling 10 cases. That is Victoria Peterson and I in this market. And have built Walla Walla Vintners ever since. And the wines are stunning across the board. And now that they've had a transition in ownership, he is taking it to the next level with the winery. And it is a beautiful thing to see that legacy just continue to grow and become what it's going to be here in the future. More estate property. The winemaker, Derek, is incredible. I love his touch. I love his philosophies. A very wise team has taken over what Gordy and Miles built and done a very beautiful job continuing to nurture it and move it along. So
I love that. And when Cinda opens this bottle, you will notice she uses the exact same boomerang opener we use.
Oh,
because
yeah.
why wouldn't you? It's the best thing.
We love
You
it.
can take it on an airplane.
my fingers from being in my serving days have foil cuts and scars all over them. So when I found these, I was like, I don't know why I would never use this ever.
You
over something else.
are on a quest. I was thinking I hear a bigger pop. You're on a quest of bringing Merlot back into market.
Yes.
We're on a quest
We're
to
back
get
into
people
favor.
using these because
So-
they are really everything. They'll do everything. This is a 2021 Walla Walla Vintners Merlot. $35 at the winery. Okay.
Merlot.
And-
This is though.
And the other thing about this particular wine is Gordy, had given me a bottle of 2002 Walla Walla Vintners Merlot. So this was back in their very early winemaking days. And in 2014, I remember the day I was sitting on my deck and I was enjoying the last of the sun that was out for the sunset. So I don't know, 7:30, 8 o'clock, and I'm like, I'm going to open this. And it was one of the most stunning, ageable, experienced wines that I really was able to enjoy the whole bottle very easily.
Yeah.
But
We
you're
know
with
that. Would you
Yeah.
call it transcendent?
Yeah, yes, it was. And honestly, when we went to Walla Walla on a tour, we went to Lake Cole, and I asked them, I said, hey, is there by any chance that you have, a cellar that, you wouldn't mind selling a bottle so we could share it? And I ended up with a 2002 Lake Cole Merlot with the old school bottle, and I still have it because it was such a memorable,
Yeah.
magical experience. Honestly, wines age at different stages,
Sure.
but Merlot, in my opinion, from Washington State, not only is it delicious upon release and being able to open and enjoy, but the ageability, from my experience and the wineries that I've tasted ageable Merlot from, will never let you down.
This is incredibly fruit forward in the nose. I haven't even tasted it yet.
Merlot is a very supple, very rich, very generous,
And soft.
varietal, and it is one of my favorites. I will just say that, and it always has been. And like I said, personally, my mission is to bring back Merlot in this market.
Which is
What is
fantastic.
the alcohol on this one?
We're going to go with the alcohol on this at somewhere in the vicinity of 14.9.
Ah, okay.
A little hot. Didn't hit 15 though.
That's not very hot for Washington.
Hashtag cheersing.
Cheersing.
I love Merlot so much, I forgot to cheers. Sorry.
It's a bad habit of Wine Time Fridays. We have to toast every first glass out of the bottle. We have actually featured a Walla Walla Vintners Cabernet Franc on episode 240. Not too long ago. I guess it'd be about 16 weeks ago, which would be 4 months ago. So I guess it's a little
That's
while.
long ago. I get licorice in this. Or sarsaparilla, something like that. It's really good.
This is really good.
And
4
this
years
is
old.
okay.
Still a little tight.
Yeah.
Very generous, velvety texture, a little roasty cocoa nuts.
It's
cocoa
going
notes
way
and-
back on my tongue.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. The body is just like butter. It's lovely. Little floral undertones.
Well, so let's backtrack a little bit and work up to this. On that Blanc de Blanc, what would be your perfect food pairing with that?
Well, unfortunately, over my years of being in the wine business as well, I've become very in love with oysters.
Unfortunately? Why is that unfortunate?
Well, when you can walk into a restaurant, typically because, and drink a beautiful bottle of bubbles champagne and need to eat, 24 oysters just to fill your oyster need. I do have a story about oysters that I'll share if it's okay.
Bring it on.
And bubbles. When I was in Portugal on the Douro River, our guide from Arcanova, Antonio, he took us out on the boat and we shucked oyster after oyster after. I am telling you right now, I think I ate at least 40 oysters that day.
So raw, not even grilled or anything?
No, he was shucking them right off the boat. They had all the toppings there as the sunset was going down. So magical.
Right? Isn't? I mean,
so
these
oysters.
Yeah. Well, and that's perfect.
Very diverse wine, though, in general. But for me and my preference, it's going to be.
I think that's what Lisa said too.
I mean, it's fantastic. We lean toward Madeleine Angevin for our oysters, but they're grilled too. A little Tabasco, a little butter, something else in there, lemon. But absolutely perfect pairing. We never asked this either about the Treveri. Is that method Champenois?
Traditional method, yes.
Okay. And then the Elk Cove Pinot Gris, what would you pair with that?
That wine is so diverse with so many different foods. So pasta, chicken, cream dishes, vinaigrettes for salads. It is by far very diverse, just as a Pinot Gris.
It seems like anything you would pair.
It's a sipping wine also.
Yes, and a hot sun, on the patio deck kind of wine.
A stainless Chard, those that you pair with a stainless Chardonnay, you probably do with that Pinot Gris as well.
Yes.
Yeah, things like that.
Yes.
Okay. And then this one, the Merlot. By the way, the Pinot Gris, $23 at the winery. This Merlot is $35 at the winery. Again, these are winery prices. They're going to fluctuate where you see them on the shelf. Likely going to be a little less. Likely. But who knows what their margins are at your favorite bottle shop and wine store. What would you pair with this lovely Merlot?
And don't forget to support them when they're on their wine lists for their fellow buyers who also appreciate these wines.
Yeah, right?
Yes.
Exactly. Exactly.
And have a place for them in their hearts as well. So, for sure. So with this wine, again, Merlot is a very diverse food wine. Mm-hmm. You could go anywhere from duck to a light roast to even some red sauce dishes. I would love spaghetti with this.
I would think
spicy
lasagna
spaghetti
or something would be fantastic. We haven't had lasagna forever.
Sounds like lasagna with Walla Walla Vintners Merlot. Merlot in general.
Or taco salad.
Yes.
Which we were going to have last night, but didn't. But maybe tonight. Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
And for the ageable Merlots that I've had, so across the board, any cheese, any soft cheese, just an incredible across the board pairing.
This you talked not too long ago about that bottle of wine that was so good that just disappeared, right? You were by yourself, right?
Yes, I was. And the second one, the 02 Lake Hole, I was not by myself, and I was bummed I was not by myself.
Oh, no.
Because the magic happens as, you continue to enjoy it.
It evolves.
Yeah.
And it has different characteristics that come along the way. And is it going to last, because it's so old, when you get to the last glass, and it's never disappointed.
Gosh, that's the fact that it can go that long. But you're right, there is that worry that you're going to hit that wall, it's going to fall off the cliff, and then that's no good.
Yeah.
We're going to take another break, and when we come back, we're going to get into, I think we're going to do a Brook and Bull, but Lord knows what I know here when we come back.
Welcome back to Wine Time Fridays, episode 256. Here on this Friday, March 14th. Here we go again. It's already in the middle of the month.
I know.
However, it's now daylight savings time, so we get more light.
It is.
I'm very happy about.
Hey, well, Cinda's opening. We have Cinda as a guest from Idaho Wine Merchant. Oh, this is the Malbec. We're on. Yeah, I got it. I'm there. Shelley is in a parade tomorrow.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Yes.
For the first time in the history of the North Idaho Sparklers, Shelley Webb will be a part of that parade group because there's no more divas. And
Divas retired.
They're retired, and now in the St. Patrick's Day Parade downtown Coeur d'Alene, you can go and hoot and holler at Shelley as they do this fabulous Irish song
Which
that
will
will not
never
get
get
stuck in
out of
your
it.
head.
Why did you say that? Now it's back.
It's so funny. All right, Cinda, you just opened a 2021 Brook and Bull Reserve Malbec.
We love Brook and Bull.
Yes, we do.
This is just the Malbec.
As opposed to...
Higher tier reserve Malbec
gotcha.
Ashley makes.
Okay, so I put Reserve in there and it's not the Reserve.
Correct.
Gotcha. I don't know. Oh, I know why I put that in.
Because you did it with her.
No, because I didn't find... I found only the Reserve on the website. That's what it was. So what we're going to...
My bad. I apologize.
No, it's fine. Which all of that will be taken out. What we're going to open now is a 2021 Brook and Bull Malbec. We had Ashley Trout on episode 173, where we opened a Reserve Malbec way back in August of 2023, and that was also Washington Wine Month in August. But
the other one.
We love the wines from Brook and Bull and the artwork on the label. So we are going to show you that artwork. For those of you watching on YouTube, congratulations for coming over. For those of you listening on your podcast platform, shame on you for not going over to YouTube. So,
No, don't say that.
not shame on you. Shame on you. What do you got from this one? Because we love the wines that these guys are producing.
Well, Ashley is a very brilliant woman. And I know that she gave you all the information. So I'll kind of highlight what Ashley is to me and what she's done.
It's a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago.
Yeah. So she founded herself with Brook and Bull in 2016, and as a brilliant and very talented winemaker, and been in the business long before she founded Brook and Bull. Would go back and forth between Argentina and Washington and make Malbec in both areas, where she got her nickname Flying Trout from. But she did 2 harvests a year for 8 years to learn Malbec, and Malbec is truly one of her favorite varietals to make. She blends it in most of all the other varietals that she works with. But the labels are all based on the philosophy of what it is a struggle from start to finish, from weather, bud break, harvest, keeping things in line, too much sun, too much rain. And the labels are significant to her of what each varietal characteristically expresses in the bottle, and the trials and tribulations that it is, and the drive to continue to make a successful product. So
her husband's also a winemaker.
yes,
He was with Canvasback, but is no longer there.
He has got another project, and I'll let Ashley fill you all in on that.
Yeah,
so.
I want so badly to get both of them on.
Oh,
with
they
both
would
of their
be
wines.
great.
Yeah.
Both of them would be great.
We had Ashley on as a part of our Women in Wine series because there's more and more women in wine, and we love that, and we
Yes.
want to shine that spotlight as much as we can. We actually recorded with Ashley here at the Business Zone, not in this room, in another room, but
Does she have her son with her?
yes.
I thought so.
And he was a very bright kid.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
I'm sure he still is.
Yes.
Well, I know I can't speak now, but I know then he was. It was, I should shut up. So let's go ahead and toast this.
So, yes, toast.
Hashtag cheers. Phil, shut up.
And another connection and how I actually ended up working with Ashley through Idaho Wine Merchant with my crew is Naomi and I went over to Walla Walla, and we were tooling around, and she's like, I need to go to this winery, and I need to go to this winery, and I said, fine, I'm coming, let's go. So
Doesn't sound like Naomi. She's so laid back.
she is an amazing travel partner, and she has led me to a lot of beautiful spaces and wines like Brook and Bull. And so the conversation started with the powers to be at Idaho Wine Merchant. And I'm like, we have to sell this. And so we started off very small with her, and here we are today. She's an icon, in my opinion, in my world as well, as a winemaker and producing wine that is pretty sought after by buyers as well as consumers.
So you were the one that really pulled the trigger on getting Brook and Bull here.
I'm the
North
one
Idaho.
that came to Rich, my boss,
Nice.
and said, we have got to do this. You've got to do this. And then we all went to the winery as well, and they're like, we've got to do this. I'm like, I know. So that's usually how we collaborate. It's a great group, but so it was Naomi to start, and then me going to Rich, please.
That's
and
awesome.
Here we are.
And so, as far as distributors go, would you say Idaho Wine Merchant is it's not as large as Odom, I would imagine, but how would you call it a large distributor?
So I would say
portfolio, how big
Idaho
is that?
Wine Merchant, our portfolio is very broad.
It's the best.
Yeah, I was roughly informed that there were approximately a little over 4,000 SKUs from that we have moved and shifted and done. And so that's a lot, as well as what's available through the portfolios that we don't actually physically get to put our hands on. So, I think large, big, it's a word that, is skewed just because I think all of us have a lot of different layers of products within each portfolios, and so it can be ever never ending.
Well, so you said broad, which is really good, right? Broad, you can touch a lot of different points, a lot of different trends, demographics, all of that. Which brings me to the question, what are the trends in the wine world these days? It's a great segue because you fell in love with these wines. The story is really great, right? It's an easy sell when you're out with your retailers.
Yep. And then my story is really great with them too. So like I said,
right?
the longer I've done this, the more stories and layers that come into this. And the community that pulls it into, that's the thing about wine that I love. It's all a community.
And you have that personal connection, which again will help in the selling of it.
Yes.
But you can't bring in everything you love. That's the trick, right?
I would totally do it if they'd let me. And I'd be in big trouble, I'm sure. But
you can always
It's a lot to
apologize later.
But what I have noticed is I have a young, she is over 21, but I have a young daughter, and her boyfriend and friends, they're kind of all in that demographic of, it's this, it's that. No, we don't like wine. Well, slowly but surely, their mother, my daughter's mother, me, has been saying, why don't you just try it with me? Like, it's a different...
Have a half glass to go with this dinner. If you don't like it, we'll go to a beer or whatever you're going to have.
And so I have kind of started slowly doing that, and they are in love with bubbles. and
Great
white
start.
wine. So one thing I think a trend that I've noticed is, and especially with people that I continue to work with and nurture along the way, whether that's server staff or people in the public, because I do a lot of tastings, particularly at Pilgrims, and work along, and I watch what they say. Like, I don't like white wine, but I want to try this wine,
You haven't had
and
the right
I fall
wine.
in love with
know.
it. Or I don't like red wine. Oh my gosh, this red wine is delicious. So I think the one thing I would encourage anybody is, if something's open, try it. You never know what you'll fall in love with, or what you think you don't like that you love.
We run into the same thing at home. Okay?
Yes.
I've got 3 Barolos downstairs, and I pull up a Barolo, and it's
They're
something.
just big.
Yeah, it's something where we don't necessarily, because it's not like anything else, right?
I'll take those off your hands if you
No,
don't
we're
mind.
going to keep them.
Okay.
But thanks for asking, because I am bound and determined to
Yes.
work through that, right?
And I love that.
Yeah. Okay, because we are constantly touting, try different wines. Give them a try. If you don't like Merlot, you haven't had the right one. If you don't like Pinot Gris, we haven't had the right one. There are plenty of good wines out there. Just have to give them a chance.
Yes.
Right? And so if you can get that demographic to just open the door, because sparkler will go with almost anything.
Anything.
Almost.
And
Maybe
their
not a
taste
steak.
evolves. So.
And
Yeah, exactly.
so the trend that I have seen is that the demographic, that is just beginning to learn wine, or kind of into wine, or, like kind of starting their journey with wine. At least they're drinking wine first,
Yeah,
So
for sure.
drink what you like, but don't be afraid to venture. That's the one piece of advice I would give. But what I have seen is that there are people adventuring and taking on different regions, and trying them and falling in love with them. And that demographic has been great, because I see it in my restaurants with the servers, and they're passing that on to their customers, and as well as myself trying to pass that on to the people that I taste in front of when
Yeah.
I can. So that is a beautiful trend that I see, that there are more risk takers out there when it comes to trying a wine.
Gosh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Because when you go into a restaurant and you're like, I don't know any of these wines. You just have the Kendall Jackson. Again, nothing. We're not dogging Kendall Jackson.
At least they're drinking wine, right?
At least they're drinking wine, but it's like, that's a small little, just a
Yes.
small little target. Broaden that a little bit. You might surprise yourself with what you like.
Yes.
You know?
And
And
I'm
usually-
encouraged that most people are doing that. Like,
Right.
they're taking that leap, and then they're falling in love with wine all over, which is a thing that continues down the road. You never not fall in love. You might go, every now and then, but you never stop falling in love with wine as
Well,
you continue to explore it.
I think people feel like they need permission to do that. And once they get that,
It's okay to drink Chardonnay.
it's
and Merlot.
okay. It's
It's
okay. Yeah.
absolutely.
It's like, and I'm not going to bore people with our, tasting events where they come in and say, just pour me your best one. And we start down here. When you empower somebody to trust what they like, not what you say they should like, not what anybody says what they should like, right? Mm-hmm. When they have something and they may not like it, and it's okay, you move on.
Yes.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yes.
You just make a little notation. The Merlot industry fell off the cliff after Sideways. And yet, the very last scene, he's drinking a
Merlot.
Bordeaux that's Merlot dominant. Okay?
It's an ironic scenario.
It is. And they did a disservice to Merlot by not somehow tying that in, which is too bad.
Well, and that, I think, back again at people's education of Merlot and wine in general is a growing, ever evolving journey.
Yeah.
And I love that people are on it and taking it, which is why this is the right time to bring Merlot back into the world.
Oh,
and bring it
We'll help.
back to strong.
We'll help. We'll help.
We love Merlot.
Absolutely.
That was
We have
I've
a big.
always loved Merlot, even like my very first bit of wine. Merlot was my favorite. Like Duckhorn,
Yes.
I was waiting to be on the waiting list.
Waiting to be on the waiting list?
Yes.
And you know, I see a lot of trends too, especially throughout the years. You know, one year this varietal will be a hot one, and then the next one it's like, oh, it's kind of slowed off a little, but this varietal is hot. That's also drinking trends as well, and people branching out and trying new things, which is beautiful.
I mean, you can't dislike that because you're moving product,
right?
Which is fantastic, but at the expense almost of others. So it's a fine line, right?
Sometimes, yes.
We have a big hole in our cellar for the Merlot. And we have some Merlot, but not much.
And not much.
We do have duckcorn down there. One of these days we're going to break that bad boy out.
We will.
One of these days when you say
It'll
it's okay.
be fine when you open it, I promise, because it's Merlot and it's ageable.
And it's sitting at 58 degrees.
Beautiful.
Although the humidity is not so good.
It's getting up there. We're 42% now. So there you go.
So on a note, just to finish on Brook and Bull Malbec, Ashley is kind of one of those that says, I let Malbec do its thing, just like me, go crazy. And her effort and her ability to let it be its thing ends up being a perfect representation in the bottle.
And this one's much like cherry sticks, those candies you used to have.
Good job.
Yeah, very much like that.
Ashley struck me as very reserved when she was with us. So she breaks loose a little bit sometimes.
I'm not going to say a word.
I think you just did. So before we go to break, I want to know, Cinda, because this is something we ask a lot of people, not everybody, but since you broke in the mid-90s, in the 90s or whatever, into soft landing in the wine industry through restaurant, what was your gateway wine? What was the wine that you tasted and said, oh my God?
Well, it could be the first wine you tasted
You
that
know,
you knew was wine, or one that was really...
I have to unlock my brain a little bit, but there is a few that stand out, particularly. Honestly, it was crazy because the label kind of gave it its uniqueness, I would say.
Yeah.
And the wine is stunning. And I let me kind of.
We're gonna let her noodle on that during the break, and when we come back, she's gonna shed light on that.
Yes.
Because when we were talking with Kevin Olsenberg, there is that first wow moment, which isn't always the best wine, right? It's the one that kind of. The wine thing is like your daughter and their friends, right?
Yes.
So they may not have the best wine per se, but it's something that got them in the door.
Yes.
And then there's the transcendent one that brings them off. And when we come back, we're going to find out what that is. Welcome back to Wine Time Fridays with Shelley and Phil and Cinda with Idaho Wine Merchant during this Idaho Wine Month, March. During this Washington Wine Month. Thank you. You know, Idaho Wine Merchant, she's over there cracking up. You guys distribute Rolling Hills.
Yes.
Right? That's an Idaho wine.
Yes, it is.
So you can see, Shelley, where I might make a little bit of a faux pas. Or is it a faux pas? No, because they're not Oregon Wine Merchant, Idaho Wine Merchant. As we fight here.
Philpa. I like that.
Philpa. Hashtag Philpa.
That is going in the hashtag.
It's going on the back of a hat at some point.
Yes.
She's going to start a whole new company, Philpa.
You can do a lot with your name.
Thank you.
Phil's office.
I want the first
Phil's
hat.
office. Phil's
Dump
office.
Phil.
Dump Phil, yeah. Okay, so we digress, but we're going to get right back on track here as we're going through 5 different Washington wines for Washington Wine Month from Idaho Wine Merchant, who distributes these wines. And we're going to end with Saviah Cellars the Jack.
No, we're not. Are we? Oh, okay, we are. Sorry.
I'm going to put that on the front end.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
And I'm going to put other things on the front end.
You don't do the editing.
I could.
And we're going to put
Sneak
Cinda in
in.
between us.
Which by finishing this with this wine is a great. I have two wines that really kind of pushed me into the wine world. One was Alexander Valley Sinzin. It's a Zinfandel.
Sinzin.
Yes.
Okay.
That was one of the wines back in the 90s that I tasted, and it was around because they are Alexander Valley. Mm-hmm. They are Alexander Valley.
Zin City.
Elderton Shiraz. Australian wine was kind of a big deal back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And Elderton Shiraz was the one that I was like, which ended up being, Syrah.
Are they around McLarenville?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
And they're still making wine?
They are,
okay.
Yes. And so shortly after that, when I entered into the distribution side, I still waited tables as well. I went to Australia. And I was able to visit those areas. So that was kind of a magical... That Elderton Shiraz and Alexander Valley Sinzin were my two wines that kind of just changed my whole life.
And although Merlot has been added to that short list of your really...
My passion.
Your passion,
It's what I hold dear to my heart, as all varietals, but Merlot is special.
Yeah, and the Syrah, thank you, Shelley. I think Kevin actually mentioned that the whole yellowtail thing has given a bad rap to Australian Shiraz. When we talked to Luke Marquez with Molly Duker, he's like, we actually have a lot of gratitude towards yellowtail. So I'm not sure what the best thing is, right?
Here's the funny thing.
Yeah.
Again, a story within a story within a story, right, of the years. I sold Yellowtail when I started distribution.
You did.
And it was the best possible thing I could have had to support glass pour varietals for my restaurants. And so Chardonnay, Cabernet, Merlot, Syrah. But yes, I sold Yellowtail back in the day.
So I mean, we throw Yellowtail under the bus all the time.
We do.
As long as people are drinking wine and they're drinking what they like, that's all that matters.
You know what? That's exactly right. And we'll move them on. But Yellowtail
they will move
has
on naturally. Absolutely.
And Yellowtail has a spot, right? And they make 1 billion gallons of wine every year, but they're always on the store shelf.
Yes.
And they have people who buy it all the time.
And like I said, they're drinking wine. And eventually they will move on to trying and adventuring into something different. And still maybe having that be their, go-to when they are on the fly. So it's a beautiful thing.
Well, we are going to hope that people...
Now I feel like Gavin Newsom.
I was just thinking earlier today, I'm like... Should I mention that Wine Time Fridays never goes political? No, I don't need to say that. And then Shelley goes and says something like that. That's so funny.
Do you know who he is? Governor of California.
Yes, they do. Yes.
Mr.
He has
Pivot.
his own podcast now.
Why are we promoting him?
We're not.
Okay.
I just know he's gonna flip over to a Republican.
He's pivoting and flipping. But the segue there is we would like to encourage and suggest and invite folks that like Yellowtail, maybe give the Jack Syrah a try. What do you think about that?
Or
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the Jack you can find really, I would say, almost on every store shelf. I mean, give or take. Store shelf, for sure stores, right?
Yes.
Like Super One, you're going to find
Yes.
Fred Meyer and some Safeway and Albertsons, things like that. You will see this.
And a lot of people value that's in the bottle for, their wine programs in general.
Yep.
So it's a very, and that's what it's intended for. And
You will see this on restaurant menus all the time for glass pours
Yes.
because the value is there.
Absolutely. Rich Funk, who is a gentleman who came over from Montana with his wife and started their winery in 2000. And Syrah is actually one of his near and dear favorites varietals, which is why this particular wine has everything in the bottle that you would want out of a Syrah that could cost double.
Yeah.
He has come a long way in the Washington industry. He, has his own tasting room, which is beautiful, and vineyards now that he's been planting himself with his son and family and workers at the winery.
Jared Funk.
Yeah, Jared.
Kind of starting to run things a little bit there. We had him on as a guest,
we were there
episode
on a
202.
very, very cold night.
Yes,
Yeah.
and Jared's sister is there as well. So, but the Jack is actually a family name that came from Anita's side of the family, and is carried on through the tradition of the family in that way too. So, lots of beautiful things from Saviah Cellars, lots of history, and just recently I was there, and we were able to open up a 2001 Saviah Syrah, and it was stunning.
They make great wine.
They make fantastic wine, Cabernet, all of it across the board. And Jared I'm really excited to see him on his journey, because again, he's continuing to that legacy, and as well as grow his own. And it is one of the most magical. I cannot explain wine any other way, because there's so many beautiful, magical, memorable moments that come from not only the family that starts the winery as it's being built, the soil, the vines, the age of the vines, the trellising, the vineyard hands, the cellar workers, to the distributors, to the truckers, to the restaurants and the consumers that get to enjoy that final product. There's a magic behind every single bottle that you enjoy.
While you're pouring this, I'm going to ask you, who do you think was Jared's roommate in college? Oh, we're bringing a little education to Cinda today.
Oh dear.
Just another story.
You know what? Let me call Jared real quick. I don't know. Who was his roommate?
Andrew from Tyrannus.
Oh.
They were roommates.
That's okay.
But back to the stories that keep on going,
That's
right?
again.
It's so cool to see the connectivity of all of these things.
That's how I feel about wine. It's in us humans as well, when the connectivity comes together.
This is the 2020, the Jack Syrah.
Something good did happen in 2020.
Yeah, we started a podcast, and Saviah created this wine. Hashtag cheersing. See, Cinda's learning.
Oh, and fun fact.
Yes.
When we picked up Saviah Cellars as a distributor, I had gotten a puppy. And it's a Husky Malamute mix, and she
Go
is
dogs.
amazing. And her name is Saviah.
Oh, there we are.
She is still kicking today, and I love her so much. But yes, there's a lot of layers with Saviah and Rich and the family and Jared, and again, just my dog.
Can I ask you, as a distributor, and knowing the distributors and the representatives in our area, as you all do, you all know each other, I don't believe, tell me if I'm wrong, that there's some of these connective stories that you're bringing to the table. You have got some very strong connections with certainly the wines that we've tasted today, or tonight if you're listening in the evening, or in the morning, or whenever you're listening. I'm not getting that feeling from, all the reps that they have wines they're trying to sell. They want to sell the ones that are going to move, get rid of the ones that don't move. There's that kind of separation, and
You're not getting that feeling, or you are?
I'm not getting that feeling from Cinda. Cinda's got
Where else
strong.
are you getting it from?
Well, just in general, no specific, no names. In general, is this something that you kind of see also? I mean, you've got a strong tie to Saviah. You've got a strong tie to Brook and Bull. You've got a strong tie to all of these wines, and Walla Walla Vineyards, all of them that you bring a personal story with. I guess that's what I'm saying. I'm not seeing that with everybody else? In a general term.
Just say thank you. Smile. No.
I think in response to that, I've worked in the wine business a very long time. I have stories with a lot of my fellow distributors, even on that term with wine. And I think we're all trying to accomplish the same thing, which is magic and getting wine into the hands of our buyers and consumers. And my journey just happens to be in a fairyland of magic, and that's just the way I am and who I am and how I approach most things in my life. And wine just happens to be what I love to do and
it's
consume.
A passion.
And
it's a passion.
It is my passion.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is why the word magic appears in the title of this episode.
Oh.
Because there's so much magic in the room.
I love it.
Oh my gosh.
What? Oh my gosh. What would you pair with this Jack?
So the
Jack.
Jack Syrah is a spicy wine. Lots of kind of bright, cinnamony, kind of peppery notes.
Barbecued beef rib.
I was just going to say that.
And you could do spicy with this. It is a little floral. The body is magnificent, medium to full, and just a really beautiful, expressive representation of Syrah in general from Washington State.
And at $35, it's a great price point, except you're not paying $35. It's an $18 wine. That's
Nice.
the thing. It tastes like mid-30s, mid-40s. It is.
Yeah, it does.
Again, all of these wines, the QPR is pretty much off the chart. Pretty much off the chart. Yeah, this has been so much fun. Shelley.
Coming up.
No, I want to have you talk about some of the wines we may have enjoyed this week.
Are there any hard to pronounce names?
I don't know, maybe.
Oh, that looks pretty good. Dashe, Zinfandel, Gait, Chardonnay, Ashes and Diamonds, Cabernet Sauvignon. That was
From Napa, yeah.
Cove, 41, Chenin Blanc, Lucien, Lardy, Fleurie, Le Roche.
There you go.
Chateau, Maubert, Bordeaux Rosé, Rivaura Syrah, and Domaine Chen Père et Fil, Bourgogne Pinot Noir.
Now,
Bourgogne Pinot Noir. That
well,
sounds odd.
these wines from Burgundy are, and even
But it's-
Europe are tending to put the varietal on for American consumers.
We don't know what it is.
Well, I mean,
drink this
it's like,
Bordeaux.
I don't want this Burgundy. I see Burgundy in the jug on the bottom shelf.
I don't
So
think
this
they
is-
sell Hardy Burgundy anymore.
Who
Hopefully.
knows? Yeah, hopefully. I
That was
don't know.
Gallo. It's very good for making wine coolers and floating on the river.
Well, we learned something new about Shelley again. Some things coming up. International Viognier Day is the 27th. World Marcelin Day. Sorry, the 26th, International Viognier Day. The 27th is World Marcelin Day. April 14th, Tanat Day. Cinda, do you like Tanat?
I love Tanat. One
Isn't
of
it
my
great?
favorites that
I know.
Yes, I've been introduced to is the Garzon.
Ah, yes.
So
And it's got resveratrol, so it's healthy.
there you go.
She says that, rolls right off her tongue. And we're big Jeff Pita fans here.
Yes.
Don't let Jeff hear that. By the way, Jeff's, their house has gone through a little bit of medical stuff, so big shout out to Jeff and his family.
And
I
prayers.
think, prayers, and I think things are going well, which is what we like to hear. 17th is World Malbec Day, and we're going to have in the future, we've got Wine with Paige Comrie. That's going to be fun. That's coming up in April. And Palencia Winery, we're going to have Victor here probably 2 weeks. But next week, we're having Susan with Deneen. Susan Brown Aaron, GM of Deneen Vineyards, a Washington wine.
Sounds like a great lineup.
I'm telling you, man, we love the different wine months. I just found out that New Mexico also has a wine month in September. We're going to get Gris on.
As if we don't drink that enough.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, Gris is fantastic, but I know that there are other wineries in New Mexico other than Gris.
Well, lots of history.
Yeah.
With Gris as well. I used to sell Gris as well.
Yeah, and they're good people.
Yes.
And what we're noticing, the vast majority of people in the wine industry, whether you're a winemaker, a winery, a vineyard, distributor, most are really good people.
Yes.
Like anything, you're going to have that errant jerk. But most are really good people. Don't look at me when I say jerk. Why would you do that? I'm not
I was
a
just
jerk.
thinking of a common wine.
A common wine?
And field mice and such.
Field mice. Are you going to expand on that?
Nope.
Okay.
We talked about it a while ago.
Okay. My little brain's not working. Most are very, very fun
Almost
people.
all.
Yeah. You go to a tasting room and you're at the bar there and you're pouring and everybody's having so much fun.
Yes.
And it's the great thing. No divide, no division, just fun.
It's a complete vibe.
Yeah.
Energy.
And so with you bringing Merlot to the table, and the fun to the generation that's kind of pushing back against it, we're gonna hook them in.
They'll forget.
I love
that
this.
generation's getting
Let's do
older.
this.
Let's do it. We are doing it. We're doing it on and on. A huge thanks to today's sponsors, Pilgrim's Market, Eternal Wine, and CDA Gourmet. And Cinda.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Not everyone is eager to get on. Cinda is eager and accepting and gracious. And thank you for bringing these wonderful wines. Go find yourself, if not all of them, pick 2 or 3 and try them. You're going to find them all around here in North Idaho.
Or just any wine.
Especially Merlot.
Especially Merlot.
It's a good place to start.
That sounds like a Sound of Music. Wrap it up. With a little bit of knowledge, wine becomes a lot less overwhelming. Thank you for joining us. See you next week with Susan, and have a great weekend. Boom. Thank you for spending part of your day to wind down with Shelley and Phil. Remember, you can listen to any episode of the Wine Time Fridays podcast by visiting winetimefridays.com or wherever you get your podcasts. And join us on our Wine Time Fridays Facebook page, Instagram, or on Twitter, which is @VintageTweets, for daily conversation. Until next week, here's our toast to you. To health, wealth, abundance, gratitude, peace on earth, and of course, romance.